A little. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the WellMed Charitable Foundation's Caregiver Teleconnection. Today, we have an incredible presenter who is kind enough and works hard enough to share her time with us. And that's Holly Glover, who works for the James West Foundation. And I'm going to let Holly tell you a little bit about herself and what she's going to talk about today.
All right. Thank you so much. So glad to be back. One of my favorite groups to speak to, always very interactive. And then I hear back from so many of you. Today, we're going to talk about communication strategies across the stages of dementia. We could talk about this all day long, but we're going to mash it down into an hour. There is no way I'm going to get to all of these slides because it covers so much, but you are going to get all of these slides because it's going to be something that you're going to go back to over and over and over. We also encourage you, share it with family and friends. We just ask that you leave it on our slides. That's the only thing we ask, is that you leave it on our slides. So I am Holly Glover. There I am with my friends, the Carters. I had to add their picture on there. I loved getting to work with Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. So I was actually able to work through the Rosalind Carter Institute on a grant for 2 years. I traveled back and forth to Georgia. I was actually the keynote speaker at the Georgia Caregiver of the Year in 2019. And that was the last time that I saw both of them in person, got to sit at the table and just regular people, regular people. You'd never know you were sitting next to the president and first lady at all. In fact, Rosalind reached over and went, "Tell me about your family." I thought I spoke slow. Wow, in Georgia, that's some slow speaking folks. Love them, love them, love them. I am a licensed professional counselor. I was a school teacher first. I taught school for 20 years and then went back and got my master's degree in counseling. I'm also a certified grief therapist. Now, get to thinking about that. Why in the world do we need a grief therapist working at we are a licensed nursing home and all we do is memory care. If you've got a loved one who has dementia, you know exactly why we've got a grief therapist on staff. Because from the moment that that D word first entered your mind, could it possibly be dementia? There probably was a lot of another big D word, denial. It can't be. And we go on a journey with our loved one that we never wanted to go on. And throughout the course of not weeks, not days, not months, but years, we're living in grief because grief is loss. Grief is not a synonym for death. It's a word that means loss. We're going to do a very high overview of dementia and then jump right into those stages in communication. But I've got to make sure everybody's on the same page, because even when we are seasoned caregivers, when we are seasoned professionals, there is always something to learn about dementia. Keep in mind that word dementia is just that umbrella term. It is not necessarily the diagnosis. Now, a person can get diagnosed with dementia of an unspecified type because we don't know the kind, but the word dementia is an umbrella term. There are over 100 different types, forms, causes of dementia. The one we hear of the most often, of course, Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease, 50 to 75% of all dementias is Alzheimer's. Vascular, number two, Lewy body, frontotemporal, Parkinson's disease dementia, alcohol-induced dementia. There are, again, over 100 different types of dementia, most common being Alzheimer's. Number one question I get asked, what's the difference in Alzheimer's and dementia? Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. So can you have Alzheimer's and not have dementia? No. If you've got Alzheimer's, you got the most common type of dementia. Can you have dementia and not have Alzheimer's? Yes, because you might have Lewy body dementia or frontotemporal dementia. So keep that in mind. What dementia is. Dementia is not a synonym for memory loss, but people use those because if I were to unmute everybody right now and say, "Tell me everything you know about dementia," most people would first thing would say memory loss. They forget and they can't remember things. Those are all three the same thing. But that's what most people know is memory loss because that's what we see in the media. That's what we see in the movies. That's what they show us on TV. But if you're living it every day, you know there's a whole lot more to dementia than just memory loss. In fact, two of the dementias, Lewy body and frontotemporal, many times present with no memory loss. The memory loss comes later. It presents more with problems with being reasonable and rational, problems with judgment, executive functioning. Now, all of that's part of dementia. There's about 36 common symptoms to dementia. Here's a few right here, and we're going to look at why. Why is this happening? What's going on? Did they do something to make it happen? No, they didn't do anything to make it happen. Why do some people develop dementia and others don't? We don't know. We've got a little bit of control over the one called vascular dementia, because if it's bad for the heart, it's bad for the brain. I did an entire program on vascular dementia yesterday. Anything that's bad for the heart, bad for the brain. I want us to look at these pictures. Now, this one says Alzheimer's disease because this is the most common type of dementia, but with all of the dementias, the brain is beginning to fail. If we do not have a cognitive impairment, have a normal 3-pound brain like the one you see on the left. That's a normal brain. Now compare it to the 1-pound brain on the right. How can we expect the person on the right to act and behave and speak like the person on the left? Can't. But we do. It's a very individualistic disease. If you've seen one person with dementia, you've seen one person with dementia. We say that over and over and over again. There's a lot of similarities, but everybody's journey is a little bit different. Not all types of dementia manifest in the same way. So you may see some of these symptoms that I just had up and go, oh, well, my loved one's not doing that. When are they going to start doing it? They may never do it, or they may do it tomorrow or this afternoon. But just because it's a symptom doesn't mean they're going to do it. But you need to be educated about it, so just in case they start to do it. Yesterday on one of my support groups, I had someone start talking about my loved one has their days and nights mixed up. Well, that's part of dementia, mixing up circadian rhythms, sleeping during the day, being up at night, because time doesn't mean anything anymore. If she wasn't educated, if she didn't know that, she might think something else was going on. It's part of dementia. So we're going to talk about some of those things as well, and why communication changes. We're going to look specifically today at why communication changes. This is not something the person can control. I know that sometimes it seems like they're turning it off and on. They are not intentionally turning it off and on. Now, if the person was somebody who maybe was a little manipulative before the disease, manipulation tends to not go away because of where it's stored in the brain. It tends to be more over here on the right. The right tends to deteriorate slower than the left. And so a person who used manipulation or knew how to manipulate may still very well be quite the manipulator. That doesn't mean they're turning the disease on and off. Lots of times those challenging expressions that we see, and we try very hard not to use the word behavior because behavior has a negative connotation. Those challenging expressions that we see are they're trying to get a need met and they don't know any other way to do it. I'll give you some more examples as we go along here. So, understanding communication and dementia. First, I want you to think about what is communication. It is not just words. It's not just speaking back and forth. It's not always verbal. What communication is where we've got two or more people and we're trying to express a need. It might be a want, it might be a desire, it might be knowledge, it might be our feelings, but we're just trying to get a need met, some type of a need met. But there's so much more than the spoken word. As a person with dementia progresses through the disease, they're going to use more and more nonverbal communication. You, as a primary caregiver or care partner, need to start using more and more nonverbal communication. we're going to talk about something called the theory of retrogenesis. The theory of retrogenesis is where they are going back in time, developmentally, a developmental age. That doesn't mean we're going to treat them like an 8-year-old, but if we know where they are on a developmental age scale, what abilities does an 8-year-old have? The way that I would talk to an 8-year-old and the way that I would talk to a 50-year-old are two completely different ways. But I can still get both of them to do what I need them to do or what they need to do. And I'll give you some examples of that as we go through. But I'm going to use a lot more of my body language, cues, facial expressions. My tone is going to be really important. The person with dementia, their hippocampus is dying. The hippocampus is damaged early. Amygdala staying intact. The amygdala is our feelings, our emotions, our expressions, and the ability to read yours. So it's staying intact, even after they might have what's called a flat affect. They can read your tone, your facial expressions, your body language, and they will react or respond to you. Those challenging expressions I mentioned earlier, the statistic is that about 80% of the time when our loved one has a challenging expression, it was because of our approach or the environment. Now, we wouldn't do it on purpose. Maybe we just didn't have the skill set yet. And we approached them in a way that set them off. And they reacted rather than responded. And there's a difference. Sometimes we'll react rather than respond. We want to respond. One of the things to keep in mind for the person living with dementia, all aspects of communication are becoming more and more difficult. It's like we're talking to them in a foreign language. That doesn't mean I'm going to start using baby talk, but it does mean that maybe I'm going to bring those sentences down and I'm not going to use all those adverbs and adjectives. I may be able to use a 2-word sentence like sit here while I'm patting the chair and I sit down also. I'm not going to give a long, go sit over there on that gray couch, that one over there against the wall. Too many words. Let's look at why. This is a cross section of a brain. Some of the things that are lost, not being able to find the right words. Now, do not panic if you yourself are one of those, because probably in this hour that I'm talking, I will go, wait a minute, hold on. It's on the tip of my tongue. We lose words. For us that are caregivers, that's called stress. Is what's that called? That's not called dementia, because we know we lost the word. The person with dementia will lose the word and expect you to be able to find it, you stupid, or the thing and the stuff and the stuff and the thing. You know, the thing, the stuff and that stuff and the thing. And so they'll start using very general words like stuff and thing. They can't find that word. Word salad is when they're either using actual words, but they're not necessarily in the right order, or they switch to but they're still inflection. They're talking. You can still have a conversation. Tell me more about that. I didn't know. What happened? I can talk to somebody who's not using any words all day long because I follow their inflection. Preserved abilities. So let's talk about the difference in what's happening on the right and the left. Here's the easiest way to remember it. Teepa Snow teaches this. If you've ever watched any Teepa Snow, she's right down at the bottom of that slide, teepasnow.com. Teepa Snow makes it where you can remember left language leaves. Left language leaves. The left side deteriorates faster, just about everybody. So what's over here on the left? Left is our day-to-day language. It's what we're doing right now. Left is words like boy, girl, wall, shirt, computer, desk, floor, hat, shirt, you know, whatever. Day-to-day language. proper nouns, day to day. Hippocampus is also deteriorating. Short-term memory, early on, short-term memory with most people. Recall, immediate recall, day-to-day language. That's all over here on the left. And left language leaves. But right rhythm remains. Right rhythm remains. Rhythm is stored over here on the right. So when we think about rhythm, music stays. And the majority of people with dementia, even if they've never been somebody that particularly liked music, they'll relate to music because of the beat or the pattern of music, because the rhythm part of their brain remains intact. This is important, especially as the disease progresses. If we have a child, let's say they're under the age of 5, and they're hurt or they're upset or they're crying, what do? We tend to pick them up, we rock and we pat, we rock and we pat. We're doing something rhythmic. We might even sing a little song or change the way we're talking. So we've got a little rhythm as we rock and we pat, rock and we pat. We stop doing that when they need it the most. At the end stages of the disease, sometimes all they need is a rhythmic motion and your presence. We're the ones that want to fill the time and the space and the silence when they're okay. They're content. They need your presence. This is all the way till end of life. I've sat with 2 people in the last week as they were passing. I've sat with all of our residents here at the West Center. We have an 11th hour team. And one of the things I train families and I train professionals to do is palm to palm. This means I'm safe. This means someone's here with me. And if someone's sitting near someone's feet, just a little pat. Just a little pat. Rhythmic. Because what are we doing if we, now some of you might right now be rocking in your chair, doing your pen, maybe your legs going up and down. You're doing something rhythmic that's bringing you comfort. And I'm not calling it a behavior. But somebody with dementia might be doing something more like this. Same thing, but their filter's not working that says socially that might not be appropriate. But you sitting there with your leg tapping, nobody's calling you behavior. And you're doing the same thing. Now, there's some other things that store on the right, unfortunately. Forbidden words, sex talk, racial slurs, curse words. So why in the world do they store on the right and not on the left? Because you heard me say that the left is day-to-day language. And when we were little and we first heard, and every single person at one time or another heard sex talk, racial slurs, and curse words, somebody somewhere told us not to say them again. So they did not store on the left because we weren't allowed to use them every day. Even if we grew up and we used them every day, they didn't move. They're still on the right. So they stay. And people who've never cursed will curse. And people who've never said a racial slur, and please don't say my loved one would never do that, because you will be calling me tomorrow going, Holly, you're not going to believe it. And I'm going to say, I bet I will believe it. Don't say never, because they'll use what remains. This is some more cross sections of the brain. Immediate recall being lost. Long ago memories are intact for a very long time. Theory of retrogenesis. We're going back to who they originally were. I originally was not a grandparent or a parent or a spouse. Originally, I was a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a grandchild, a cousin. So I may look in the face of my adult daughter and say, Mama. I may look in the face of my adult son and think it's my husband. Because I don't have adult children, because I'm a young woman. And don't try to tell me that I'm not. Because you might get one of these. Because you're challenging me. And I know what they believe is what they believe. It is their reality. Their brain is failing. Now you'll notice the word confabulation on there, preserved ability, confabulation, the ability to tell a story, Families will forever tell me they're lying. No, they're not. They don't have the ability to lie. They don't have the capacity to lie, but they can tell a story to try to fit in and be social. I had a man who used to come into my office all the time, and he'd look at my wall, which you can't see because I've got my background on, and he'd go 1, 2, 3 degrees. I've got 5. And he'd start telling me all about his 5 degrees. He didn't have any. He had none. And his son would tell me, Dad just lies. No, he doesn't. He's finding a way to connect with me. He's fitting, and I'll let him tell me all about his 5 degrees. Had a great connection with him. He would do anything for me. When he wouldn't take his medicine for anybody else, he's taking it for me because we've got a connection because I listen to him. It's called validation therapy. We're going to talk about that. Here's some more information about the amygdala and the hippocampus. And I told you before, we're going to go through some of these slides really fast. You're going to get copies of them. But this is for you to keep in mind as that care partner. What is your body language saying? What is your face saying? What is your tone of voice saying? What are your emotions saying? And how fast are you moving? Because they will be able to read that until they take their last breath. And it can trigger or cause one of those challenging expressions. Again, even if they have a flat affect, because what's going on the inside, what they're feeling on the inside doesn't always show on the outside because the brain's failing, but they can read you. So some do's and don'ts with communication. Remove distractions. We want to declutter as much as we can, even if they are the one that clutters, and don't take it out while they're standing there. Wait till they go to sleep, go to the bathroom, they're eating, take a little bit of stuff out of a room at a time. Clutter tends to add to depression. That's for everybody. But then we also need to get rid of an awful lot of distractions. Make eye contact. Eye contact's important, and smiling is really important, and having our voice up. Is it tiring? You better believe it is. I taught high school all 20 years. I didn't walk around like this. You better know I didn't, but I do now. Because when I walk into a house or when I encounter somebody with dementia, they don't need to see, because they could very well start to get like that themselves. Because if I'm looking and feeling like that, I bet I'm supposed to be doing it too. Because people with dementia will follow. They will follow our lead, good or bad. They'll follow people around them's lead, good or bad. But if I'm in a good mood and my voice is up and I've got music on and the sun is shining, you'll find on those days they make more connections and they can do more for themselves. But it thundered all night long. We didn't get a lot of sleep. It's gray today. You're doing this. The coffee tastes terrible. I'm not taking those medicines because you're trying to poison me. And our whole day. They didn't do that on purpose. They're picking up and they're reading you. And the least little thing can cause that what normally connects to miss. And the next day it might connect again, and then it'll miss until eventually those neurons can't connect because they're gone. Because the brain's failing. It's going from 3 pounds to 1 pound. We also want to make sure that we're not standing over someone. We want to get down and be looking them in the eye. So, best communication practices. Please forget this word. This is the worst. This is the curse word of dementia. We never want to use this word. Because think about it. What are you doing whenever you say remember to somebody with dementia? You're reminding them that they forgot. And that's a really good way to get a hit, bite, pinch, kick, spit curse word. Because you're insinuating I did something wrong. Remember, I told you we have you didn't tell me anything, you stupid. Remember yesterday when I wasn't even here yesterday, you stupid. And I'm getting defensive because you're insinuating that I should remember something that didn't happen. And it doesn't matter how loud you say it or how slow you say it, it didn't happen. It isn't there. You can't make them recall. Don't try to win an argument with someone with dementia. You're not going to win. And if you do, I always say, send me an email because I'm going to write that up as PhD because it isn't going to happen. We're not going to win an argument with somebody with dementia. And why try? Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to dump a bunch of cortisol. They're going to dump a bunch of cortisol. And now we're going to be in a bad mood for a long time. They might not remember why we are in a bad mood, but they'll stay in a bad mood because their memory of it's going to go away. Your memory of it isn't going to go away, and their feeling will stay because their amygdala is intact. They just don't know why they feel that way. Keep this in mind also, 55% of all communication, this is all communication, not just with people with dementia, is body language. 38% is tone of voice and 7% is words. Because I could just be flipping through these slides and I could be sitting here just like this, just reading them, just monotone. And after you woke up, a whole lot of our communication is our body language and our tone of voice. We've got to keep that in mind. Cues, gestures, and demonstrate, especially early in the disease. Dignity, independence, allow them to do as much as they can for as long as possible. Come alongside them. We're not going to go up to someone with dementia and say, do you want to play a puzzle? No. No is one of the first 5 words we learned, and it stays with them till the end of their life. You ready to eat? No. Gonna go do that? No. Do you want? No. What if we just put it in front of them? What if we just started doing it? And here's the best one. What if you need their help? Because you'll find as you're taking care of somebody with dementia, you don't know how to do anything. It's called a therapeutic story. I can no more figure out how to do a puzzle than the man in the moon. And I just struggle and struggle and struggle with these puzzles. You can help me with it. I'm having a hard time even finding the borders of this thing. And I'm making it about me. And that gives them a purpose and a reason. And you need me. It's not me trying to keep you busy. It's me needing help. I don't have time to get all these clothes folded. Could you help me get these clothes folded? Of course, we may fold that same basket of clothes 10, 12 times, but they got a purpose. They've got a meaning. Could you run these papers through this paper shredder for me? That's a favorite for a lot of people. It's rhythmic and it gives them a purpose and a meaning. Now, you might burn up some paper shredders, but who cares? They've got a meaning. They've got a purpose. They've got a job. Keeps them busy. Because what we don't want to do is say, go sit in that chair over there and watch TV because you don't hear, stay out of my way. Because that's exactly what they're going to hear. You don't need to do anything. Just sit there and watch TV. Well, that's great for about 10 minutes. But then you know what I heard because my amygdala is intact? That you don't need me and that I don't have a purpose and that I'm in the way or I'm doing it wrong. Let me help. Demonstrate each step, act it out one step at a time. Sit directly across from them. If you see that somebody's starting to use their fingers more than they're using their utensils, take away the knife and the fork because those knife and fork, we learned those last. You know what we learned first? Fingers. Then we learned the spoon. So they'll only use spoon for a long time. But what if you sit right in front of them? They will do what's called mirroring. They will mirror your actions for a very long time. Because if you're doing it, I bet I'm supposed to do it too, good or bad. So I'll mirror what you're doing. This will work in the shower too. If you've got a shower where it's say a glass door and they can see you, stand right outside there and you're showering. And many times they'll mirror what you're doing. But if you just say, get in there and shower, do you know how many steps there are to taking a shower? There's lots and lots of steps. And what's all this stuff in here? What do I do with it? Does it go on me? Does it go on the wall? I don't know where all this stuff goes. That's something we learned. And anything we learned, they are unlearning. It's going away. Sequencing is going away because of where it's stored in the brain. You are not going to be reasonable or rational with somebody with dementia. Not going to happen. But boy, over the more than a decade I've been doing this, I've had people, the earlier in the disease, usually, I'm just gonna, if I tell them this way, then they will. Good luck is what I say. You cannot be reasonable and rational with somebody whose part of the brain that controls reasonable and rational behavior is dying. I'm sorry to use that word, but it's what's happening. They didn't do anything to make it happen, but it's happening. We accommodate their disease. They can't. They would if they could. So we come alongside them. We're not going to argue or confront or remind them that they forgot. And here's a big one. Family caregivers, take it personally. We can't take it personally. Because those words I said earlier, those curse words, that sex talk, those racial slurs, sometimes our name will be in the sentence with some of that. And I'm telling you this, not just as a professional, but as an adult daughter who lives it every day. I turn my phone around when I'm doing programs like this so that I won't see the texts that I'm getting right now, because they're not nice. And I get them all day long. And they're not nice. But I can't take that personally. That's dementia talking. That's not my loved one talking. Because dementia will do all kinds of things and say all kinds of things. Slowing down and smiling. So let me go back to my own story. When I do call in just a little bit, I'm going to take my phone, which I'm not going to look at right now. I'm going to take a really deep breath before I make that phone call, because when I take a deep breath, I'm pushing oxygenated blood up to my own brain. I'm going to smile, because if I smile, it's going to make my voice go up. And when I hit call, I'm going to go, hey, I saw that you were texting me. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. And my voice is just going to be up. I'm not going to say, what do you see? I shouldn't have looked at it. What do you mean calling me a such and such? Because she didn't do it. Just ask her. She'll tell you she didn't do it. Well, I've got it right here, but I didn't do it. Can't be reasonable and rational with somebody who can't be reasonable and rational, but whose right side still remains and still holds all those ugly words. Some of the best things we can say to somebody with dementia is, let's do it together. I could really use your help. Show me. Especially if they're looking for the thing and the stuff and the stuff and the thing. And you know the stuff and the thing. What does the thing do? Sometimes they can say, you know, that thing that writes, but they can't think of the word pen because the noun is gone, but they can tell you what it does. So what does the thing do? Can you show me the thing? Now, our worst word is, remember, our favorite word is okay. Okay, you're the one that took all my money. Okay, let me call the bank. Not, I didn't take anybody. What do you mean take my dog? You know what the word okay means? I heard you. That's all it means. Okay does not mean, yes, you're right. Okay means, I heard you. I'm validating what you said. Doesn't mean I agree with what you said, but it means I heard you. You wouldn't believe how many people's money I have stolen over the years. I steal money all the time. I also poison a lot of people. Just poison me. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm calling the kitchen. Now, with the money, this is an easy fix. You're the one that took all my money. Oh my good. Okay, sit down here. I'm calling the bank. Hold on just a minute. And I'm picking up my office phone. And boy, is this the bank? Somehow my name got over on my mom's account or on Mr. Smith or whoever's account. And I need it taken care of today. Can you get that? Because I'm now mirroring their feelings. I'm validating their feelings. Good. You got that. Good. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad they got that taken care of. Come on, let's get down here. We got to get us, because I'm going to immediately distract. But the word okay is, I heard you. I didn't call the bank. I called my cell phone. I'm talking to myself. If they want to talk to somebody and they're placed, I'm calling somebody right here. I'm calling the front desk. I'm calling the kitchen. I'm calling maintenance and saying, hey, this is Holly. I've got Miss B in here with me. Somehow my name got on her account. Is this the bank? Could you help us with that? And every time they'll go, oh yeah, I know what you're doing. Put them on. I'll play. They know exactly what I'm doing. It's called a therapeutic story. We're fixing it with a therapeutic story. Now, people will say, that's a lie. I went to seminary. I went to Dallas Baptist. I promise you, God knows the difference in an outright lie and a therapeutic story. It's a therapeutic story. Because otherwise, I'm going to sit here and we're going to go back and forth, back and forth. They're going to get in a loop, which is 20 to 40 seconds, and we're going to do this all day long. But if I can do that therapeutic story, so I'm going to validate their feeling, I'm going to fix it, and then I'm going to distract away, because a person with dementia can only have one thought at a time. They cannot multitask like we can. We can do 3, 4 things at a time. We might not do them well, but we can do 3 or 4 things at a time. Person with dementia can do one. Now, does that mean we've got to leave right here? Yes. Because if I just hand them something to do and I get back to work, and you know what they're going to say in about 20 seconds, Loop, you're the one that took all my money. And I'm going to have to start all over again. So I'm going to fix it. I'm going to validate it. I'm going to fix it. And then I'm going to distract. And the 4 things we want to use for distraction. Some of you already know the first one, God's gift to dementia, the sweeter the better, ice cream or any other sweet food. They are actually losing all of the taste except for sweet. Almost everybody keeps sweet. My whole career, I had one person keep spicy and I've had one person keep salty, but everybody else has kept sweet. Thank goodness. Let's get some ice cream. Let's get a cookie. I think I smell popcorn, something with the senses. And we're going to get up and move from here and go get some ice cream. Second thing, music, their music. Everyone has a music set. For most people, when you study music therapy, the music we listen to between the ages of 10 and 25, so the music of our teenage years, I know some of you are panicking, thinking, oh no, what's the nursing home going to look like in a few years? It's already getting there, baby boomers. Our baby boomers are now over 60. We are rocking and rolling at the nursing home. I tell you what, out with that old stuff, in with the good stuff from the 60s and 70s. So play their music. And what if we played their music while we had some ice cream? Good stuff. And the last 2, animals and children. If you do not have real animals or real babies, go on YouTube and type in baby animals falling down. Oh, that's a good one. And here's my favorite, children laughing. Children laughing. And you'll get little videos like the one you see of that little baby there just laughing, 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 laughing. Would you look at this baby? What is this baby doing? Now, phones are usually too hard for them to see, but iPads work really, really well. So we're going to validate the feeling. We're going to fix it with a story, and we're going to distract with food, music, animals, or children. And I am getting ready to skip ahead. We've talked about active listening and validation therapy. I want to get over here, and you're getting all these. Don't panic and say, oh my goodness, she's going through that too fast. I want to get over here to some stages. Okay, early in the disease, some of the things that we want to do and some of the things that we're going to see, we're going to call this normalization. This is the normalization stage. We want to keep things as normal as possible. Reminders, setups, and cues. A person in the earliest stages of the disease can almost always still read and comprehend. Now, keep in mind, make sure you hear this, there's going to be a time that they're going to be able to read but not comprehend. They'll be able to read the word, but they will not comprehend what that word means. But early on, they can do both. So allow them to still put away the groceries, put away the laundry, help unload the dishwasher, but you might have to put spoons on a sticky note on the drawer. That's okay. Who cares? It allows them to still be able to help. They may be very, very agitated and frustrated during this time. And you know why? Because they know something's going on. These early stages can be some of the hardest on the family because they know that something's not right, even if they're not talking about it, because they may be in complete denial, and they get mad and they get frustrated. And lots of times they get mad and frustrated at us. We, as the primary caregiver, play a dual role: good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy. Don't get out of my sight, I need you. You're the one trying to poison me. Don't get out of my sight, I need you. I've already taken a bath this week. Well, it's been 3 weeks. No, it hasn't been, but don't get out of my sight. We play a role. Most caregivers will say, and I run 3 support groups, so I talk to caregivers all day, every day, that moving into the middle stage, it's actually easier on the care partner because their loved one doesn't know that they don't know, if that makes sense. They don't know that they don't know. It gets past the frustration seems to go away an awful lot because they don't know that they don't know that they don't know. Hygiene can really take a decline early because, again, sequencing. There's so many steps. Can they still brush their teeth? Yes. But if you just send them in and say, go brush your teeth, well, what all's on this vanity? Here's some hairspray. Here's some shaving cream. Here's a razor. Here's a toothbrush. Here's a bunch of makeup. What? I don't. But what if we just had the toothbrush and the toothpaste? Muscle memory. And they can still do it for a really, really long time. We've got to accommodate the disease, and we've got to change the way that we talk to them. Other common changes that we see pretty early, they will start relying on visual gestures more, even in the earliest stages. So you need to start using more of the visual gestures. Watch your body language. It is common for the person with dementia to have mood swings, way up, way down. We were saying earlier, it can change by the day, the week, the month. It can change by the minute. If you've been doing this very long, you know, sometimes we walk out of the room, we walk back in. What happened? What happened? I don't know what happened. What did happen? I don't know. Did that connection make? Did it not make? Did they hear something that scared them? Did they have a startle? We don't know, but it can change. Also, early in the disease, we have to be the ones that become really, really patient, but we can start to limit choices. I saw early on, it did not do any good to hand somebody a menu and say, what would you like? There's too much on a menu. But you can still hand them the menu and say, I'm having the hamburger. Chicken fried steak's good too. You want the hamburger or the chicken fried steak? Where they're still making a choice, but I've limited it for them, but they're holding the menu. Independence, dignity, because they'll usually say, I'll have what you're having almost every time. Whatever you're having's fine. And you probably know what they like, but don't treat them like a child and just automatically order for them. If everybody's holding the menu, let them hold the menu. If they need their food cut up for them, have them cut up everybody's food. If you're cutting up their food, cut your food up too, and don't do it standing over them. Dignity, not a child. Focus on normalization, speak directly to them, and allow them plenty of time to process. Let's move into moderate. Moderate is what we call supportive stage. In the middle stages of the disease, and this is usually the longest stages, because early in the morning, I may be a little closer to the early stages. Later in the day, I'm closer to the middle stages, and depending on what happened today. So we like to call it supportive. I'm needing a little bit of help, probably with everything in the middle stages. Again, longest stages, going to see lots of changes with speech during this time. They're losing more and more speech. That is normal. We looked at the pictures of the brain and what's happening. It's beginning to atrophy. That part of the brain, because of where language is stored, that part of the brain is beginning to fail. They are going to lose complete track of time Time does not mean one thing. And you saying the words, it's 3 a.m., why are you up, does not mean, what is 3 a.m.? If the 2-year-old got up, would you say it's 3 a.m.? No, we would say something more like it's dark. Because we teach children dark is sleep, light is awake. So sometimes it works to just go look outside. Oh my goodness, it's still dark outside. I'm going back to bed. Let's go back to bed for a little bit. Even if they've already put their clothes on. This comes up in support group all the time. But they put their clothes on. Are they back in the bed? Yes. Do they have their shoes on? Yes. Are they going to sleep? Yes. Who cares if they've got their shoes on? Learn what battles you're going to fight. You can sleep with your boots on all day as long as you are back in the bed. I know where you are. It's 3 a.m. Now I can go back to sleep. I'm not going to fight the battle over the boots in bed. But go back again. We're not treating them like the 2-year-old, but if their developmental age is that of a 2, 3, 4, 5, what words would you use? I would not show a 2-year-old the clock and say it's 3 o'clock. I'd open the blinds and say it's dark. And that's it. Now, I said this middle stage is more of the supportive, where they're needing help with most things. So again, this is where we're going to do a lot of apologizing. I am so sorry I forgot to tell you about that appointment. Even though we told them about it, we wrote it down, we called them, and we texted them on our way over there. We show up, they go, "What are you doing here?" I cannot believe I forgot to tell you about that. I'm so sorry. That's validation therapy. Would you rather do that or get in a fight? We've got this doctor's appointment to go to, and here's the best part. It's right next to Sonic. Because I know we love the Sonic, because Sonic has those chocolate shakes you love so much. Let's get that jacket over there. Come on, we're getting ready to go. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm validating, I'm fixing, and I'm distracting. We're going to the doctor, but I'm not saying, "Mom, I told you 12 times we're going to the doctor. We've had this appointment for 6 months. You know we've got to go." She doesn't know. But Sonic sounds good. Ice cream sounds great. And you're smiling and in a good mood. I want to go with you. Let's go. Let's go get some Sonic. Common changes that we see in the middle, impulse control. The filter is going away. Filter is stored right here, frontal lobe of the brain, and it is eventually going to be gone. And the filter is what tells us, don't say that, don't do that. Yes, say that. Yes, do that. You or I, if we were sitting here on this program and we started to get hot, my guess is that none of you would just take off your shirt. You might go adjust the thermostat. But a person with dementia starts to get hot, or this tag is bothering me. Well, I'll just get rid of this tag. It's not a sexual behavior. They're not having a behavior. They're meeting a need in the best way that they knew how. They didn't know to say, again, would the 3-year-old know to go adjust the thermostat? Nope. But if this is bothering me, I bet I can take it off. It's not a behavior. It's meeting a need. So focusing on support. Hear this sentence. Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper. I've got it in a frame. The person with dementia is not giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. They are not giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. They're doing the best that they can. Again, we're going to continue to reduce distractions, repeat, don't pull away, start to nurture your relationship. Let's move into the end stage, and then I'm going to stop. We'll do some questions. Again, you're getting these slides. I know I'm going through them fast. Like I said, we could talk about this all day long. End stages of the disease is called the sensory stage. For the most part, at the end of the disease, they're probably going to have 10 words or less. Does that mean they can't communicate? They can still communicate until they take their last breath. The 2 people I sat with earlier this week that was dying could still tell us if they were in pain. You know how they tell us? They'd furrow their brow. They'd make fists and turn them in. They'd curl their toes. Their body could still talk to us. And a person in the end stages of the disease, in the late stages of the disease, they may be sleeping up to 20 hours a day. There is still joy to be had. The family I was counseling with before I came on this program, their loved one is at the end stages of the disease. And we sat in there and talked about how that wife of 61 years is still connected to her husband because there is still joy to be had. We've got to find it. These stages of the disease, each stage of the disease, we cannot focus on everything they've lost. If we stay focused on everything that they've lost, we are going to stay in depression. We focus on what remains and we acknowledge what's lost. That's walking through grief. Focus on what remains, acknowledge what's lost. Some other things that we see late in the disease, again, we're going to use a lot more nonverbal. They very well may have what's called a flat affect, where it looks like they are not there. They are there. They are there. Use music. Music is so important. And don't use it once and say it didn't work and never try it again. Try different types of music. I can't tell you how many different things I've got downloaded on this phone because I'll go in and just download the best of whoever it is that they used to like. The most recent one I got was the best of the mamas and the papas. And we're in there California dreaming. And I get a little smile and I get a little pat. We're making a connection. That person's still there. But in their brain, they can't get up and dance anymore because that part of their brain isn't working. But they were perfectly content sitting and listening to the best of the mamas and the papas and us patting hands together. And probably could have done it for hours and hours and hours and hours. Because time doesn't mean the same thing. Some of the ways we treat dementia, we're doing it right now, knowledge. You've got to continue to learn, build this skill set that you never wanted. None of us ever wanted this skill set, but it is a skill set. Learning to tell those therapeutic stories is hard, but the more you do it, the stuff that'll roll off your tongue, you will shock yourself sometimes at what will just come rolling out of your mouth. Commitment, flexibility, that's huge. Compassion, and I got to end with this again. That person with dementia is never giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. You are getting these slides. So let me stop with our last 5 minutes and see if we have any questions, comments.
Let's see. I see some open lines here. Jill Costello, would you like to make a comment or ask a question?
And as you get the slides, also, my information is on that very back slide. You can email me, you can call, just like y'all have got all your great information. We've got a page also. We've got a YouTube page that has recorded programs. So make sure that you go to that too.
All right. And Minerva has put up the session.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it.
Survey. So go ahead and we would really appreciate you filling that out. That would be wonderful. That'll be up for a little while.
Not process well because you're showing them, So I may just go in and say, I'm needing help in here. And then I'm doing whatever I'm needing help with. Or could you come help me with, and they may not be making the connection between folding the clothes and this is what I'm doing, but I'm making it about, I need help. I could really, because if I say I need help putting these papers through the paper shredder, they likely am not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. But if I start putting the papers through the paper shredder, here we go. That's a rhythmic action I can do all day long. Yes, children's fantastic. So we have the Kinder Frogs. We're real close to TCU. We're in downtown Fort Worth, and the Kinder Frogs come over here, I think every Tuesday. 3 and 4 year olds running wild all over the place. It is the best activity we could ever do because nobody's taught those kids to be afraid of dementia because kids aren't afraid of dementia unless we teach them to be. They love it. They crawl all over our we go outside when it's hot. We go outside when it's cold. We've got a rabbit that lives here that runs all over the place. That is normalization because people will say, oh my gosh, they don't need to go outside. It's 100 degrees. Well, we're not going to go stay outside. But if you've grown up in Texas, being outside when it's hot is normal. We're not going to put them in bubble wrap and stick them in a corner. That's not living. We got to consider those things too. Dignity with risk.
Hi, this is Joyce calling from Chicago,
Hi.
and I have a question. Can you speak about wearing of clothing and how to deal with that?
Mhm. Not wanting to wear or wearing too much or what?
Too much, too much.
Okay, they will do that. They tend to layer. They do tend to stay cold all the time. People with dementia stay cold all the time because where's our thermostat stored? Right up here. And they will layer, 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 layer. Now, sometimes what you can do is go in and get rid of and limit a lot of stuff that's in the room. So if they've got a closet, bring what we tell families here is like bring 10 shirts and that's it because they'll put all 10 shirts on. Sometimes, and you may ask, are you cold? No, but they're still putting on all 10. Sometimes they're putting it on because they're there, just because they're there.
Mm,
Other times they're putting it
okay.
on because they are cold, but they're not telling you they're cold. No, they may even say no, just like they'll say, no, I don't hurt while they're holding their arm and doing this. No, what they're saying is stay away from me or help me. But I would start to limit the clothes. That's usually the number one is go in and then change them out seasonally. But keep a
Okay.
lightweight sweater, keep a jacket. Their thermostat does not work the same, and they really are cold all the time. That's super, super common.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Holly, I can't thank you enough. And since folks have your information,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to just say one or two little housekeeping things to end the session. You always just present information so understandably. It's lovely. It's just great. I do want to tell people, and this is really important, that if you did not register for this session, you will not get the resources. You will not get the slides. So please call our customer service person. That's Minerva at the WellMed Charitable Foundation. Here's her number, 866-390-6491. It's really important. I'm going to repeat it, 866-390-6491, and register for this session. And then you not only will get the information from this session, you will also get the monthly calendar, which will, help you figure out if there are other things that you think might help with your journey with your care recipient. So that I really wanted to say that. I also want to just thank so much, Holly, for the time that she puts into this, for her passion, her, her incredible passion, and to thank all of you for participating today. And I'm sorry we didn't have more time for questions, but since you have her contact information, it sounds like she hears from a lot of people from these sessions. And I've seen many chats here that are thanking you and telling you what a great presentation it was. And Holly, I couldn't agree more. I also would like to thank the WellMed Charitable Foundation for sponsoring these kinds of things and finding speakers like Holly for us. And with that, I am going to stop the recording. Sorry, it's been such a great session. And we will have it online. You'll have a podcast that you can send people to. And that is as in addition to the other two resources that we're going to send you. Okay, so I want to thank you all so much.
Thank